Welcome back to the Snowpoint cast. Today we're going to be going over a best of three between Trevor Read and myself. Trevor's on the left playing his original SPT's Plasma list. And I'm on the right. I'm not playing my original list. I did play this deck in this format, but I definitely sucked a lot more back then than I do now, so I edited the list a fair amount. So yeah, Trevor and Chase Maloney made this list for Plasma. Really strong list. Kind of a cheeky list. Plays 2 Hypnotoxic Laser to be able to keep up with all the laser and Verbanks that were going around. You just use your opponent's Verbank, so that's kind of neat. So yeah, I win the coin flip here, so I gotta go first, which is definitely nice when you play Raichu, which is an evolved Pokemon. Yeah, so Trevor's starting 3 basic Pokemon, which is definitely decent as well. Starts with an Absol, a Deoxys, and a Lugia. And then I start 2 Pikachus, definitely top the Pikachu, which is nice. It just means that if he is able to get a knockout with an Absol or a Thundurus this next turn, I have a Pikachu waiting for that Lugia to come up. It's really important in this matchup to be able to hit your Raichus the turn after your opponent hits a Lugia. If you let it go undenounced for like even more than one turn, like if you let them get more than one overflow attack off, you're probably going to lose the game, because the Lugia takes so much prizes that if you don't have an answer for it right away, it is able to just wreck your entire board rather. So yeah, Ultra Ball or computer search for a Trubbish or Ultra Ball, you know, whatever, doesn't matter. I like to say computer search because I always feel like it's a waste to Ultra Ball away a computer search, but it's the same. So get a Trubbish with that Ultra Ball. I think I have an N here, but I don't play it because Trevor's benched 3 Pokemon at this point, so he had like 4 cards in his hand, and it's definitely not. Yeah, I hate the Juniper. And you know, keeping 1 supporter is nice, but giving your opponent a +2 is pretty bad in my opinion. So I give him the pass. At least I was able to get the Trubbish down and an attach on the Pikachu, so definitely a decent turn 1. Would have probably liked to see a Landorus, so I'd be able to promote it if I could next turn, but can't always hit what you need. So Trevor goes for Plasma Ball. Plasma Ball is a great card, and they play a 3-1 Plasma Ultra Ball split in this deck. I think that's kind of interesting because not only was Ultra Ball like a 4 of staple back in the day, Plasma Ball wasn't like crazy high played in Plasma decks. They usually just played Ultra Ball because it's good to get energy in your discard so that Ride and Knuckle can be getting energy on your board. But yeah, so they decided to go with the 3-1 Plasma Ultra Ball split. Kind of interesting. I definitely like it. Goes for a Skyla Colorless Machine on the Absol. So he's got a couple options here. If he has the Rainbow or Prism in his hand, he can retreat and then ride in the energy on the Lugia, or he can just kill. I think killing is probably the right call for sure. Yeah, and he does decide to go for the Mind Jack KO. Definitely a good call, because not only are you not like putting an EX in the active for a Landorus to potentially smack, you're forcing your opponent to play a 7 prize game. So even if I kill this Absol, Trevor's still going to make me kill 3 EX Pokemon. He's not going to drop another 1 prizer. So at that point, I pretty much have to kill it for no gain. I'm getting a prize card, but that's almost bad in some senses, because it puts me down to odd prizes, and then after I kill 2 EXs, he's able to end me to 1. So it seems like it's not that big of a deal, but it's actually a really big impact on the long game. And you know, I have no reason to kill this Absol because I have to kill 3 EX Pokemon anyway. So that's kind of what the 7 prize game is. If you ever hear a 7 prize game, that's what that's referring to. So I get a letter for the fighting. Then I get an Ultra Ball as well, which is really nice. It means I'm going to be able to hit the turn 2 Garbodor here. Discarding a DCE is kind of blah, but you know, to hit the Garbodor, it's worth. Definitely, I'm in a decent position here as well. I have that Pikachu waiting in the wings for when the Lugia does come up, and Plasma can just drop a Lugia out of nowhere. They can just go double Colorless Machine DCE, and then all of a sudden they have a Lugia. So you kind of always have to play like you're prepared for them to drop a Lugia out of nowhere, because you never know when that's going to happen. So I put 30 on the Lugia. 30 on the Lugia is really nice too, because it means that I need 1 less requirement with the Circle Circuit. I do have the Raichu already, but I don't have a supporter in my hand. So I'm going to need to hit 2 more bench Pokemon before I'm able to KO that Lugia with a Raichu. And having more damage on it just means you have that many less requirements, right? Like you put 30 on it, now you only need 4 bench. As soon as it's got 60, you only need 3 bench or 2 in a muscle band. So yeah, having those card requirements less is kind of one of the ways where Landorus and Pikachu synergize, is because Pikachu can never one-shot a 170 HP or 180 HP Pokemon, but it can kill a 170 or 180 HP Pokemon if it's already been hit by something, and Landorus just does that really well because Hammerhead's a great spread attack. So it goes for the N here. Both of us are going to draw 5 off this N. It's definitely not bad, and I am blessed with that N because my hand, it was alright. Like I drew the Raichu off the prizes, but I didn't really have much other than that. So definitely nice to... That's another nice part about 2014 is you can get unlucky and have bad hands, and when you're playing this format, sometimes your opponent's just like, nah, you're gonna have a better hand. You're like, okay, cool, sweet, thanks, bro, appreciate it. Goes 5 off the end. It does hit a Colorless Machine, so that's definitely nice. Gonna be able to get 2 energy on this Lugia at least. Yeah, it's pretty even at this point. There's not really anyone who has got a clear lead. I'm about to smack this Thundurus for 100 damage. Hopefully, you know, I hit a laser. You want to hit a laser bank. It's really nice if they put a rainbow on, because then laser bank lets you go 100 with a muscle band, 30 with poison, and then if they don't retreat back to you, they get KO'd, which is super good. Like if you get the heads, tails, and the sleep, and they dropped a rainbow, feels real good, man. Feels real good. So yeah, he does get that second plasma energy on the Lugia, just a double Colorless Machine. Yeah, double. Yeah, hits the Landorus for 10. Resistance and Garbodor usually hit it for 20, but Garbodor no to power connect, so that's not a big deal. If you're getting hit for 10 as a Landorus, it's definitely you're chilling, especially when you're swinging for 100. So I am able to hit some bench Pokemon here. That's really nice. If you're playing big basics or Raichu Garb, almost all the time you want to just drop your basics, because if you get end out of your basics, it means that you don't have that power for Circle Circuit your next turn, and you might really need it. So it is kind of completing a part of your combo if you bench them, even if you don't really need to. Sometimes it's good to just bench Pokemon, even if it is going to power up your opponent's Colorus, or even if they're playing Dark or Plasma, even if it ups their Mind Jack, it's worth it so that you don't have to worry about hitting those resources later after you get end. And he goes for the third Deoxys. 3 Deoxys is usually what you want on your board, if you can at all have that. And it kind of depends. Sometimes you want 4, but sometimes you can't commit that 4th bench space, because bench space is pretty tight in this deck. So the third Deoxys is really good because it lets Lugia go 120 base, 30, and then a muscle band lets you do 170, so you're killing EX Pokemon like Mewtwo, or in the mirror you're killing Thundurus, or you're killing Brazion Genesect. It lets you hit 170, and 170 is like 170 is also good because it you know, if you need to hit that 180, you can just drop a 4th Deoxys or hit a laser, and then all of a sudden you're hitting 180. You have a lot of ways to like modify your damage, and if you do get a kill with that laser, you don't get an overflow extra prize from it, but sometimes it's just like worth it to get the knockout. He decides to drop a Palkia as well. I really like that. I think Palkia is a really important part of this matchup. The only thing that really threatens the board without sacrificing anything, like Overflow is really threatening, but also you have an answer to it in Raichu, right? So Palkia just being able to throw up Deoxys is really strong, but it's almost like I played this matchup before, because I dropped the Mewtwo and I started attaching to it, because I know that that's kind of the next step, is he's going to want to start throwing up Deoxys as soon as he starts Palkiaing, and if I have a Mewtwo with 4 energy on it, that just means I'm 1 laser, an attach, or a muscle band away from taking a knockout on a Deoxys that he throws up. So yeah, Trevor's going to go for the Colorless for 9 here. Hopefully, there we go, hitting the dice roll, hopefully hitting that Tool Scrapper off this Colorless to 9. Very possible. Definitely, he's got 2 in deck, and he's drawing 9, and he's been thinning a bunch, so it's pretty probable that he hits the Scrapper here. Definitely really good for me if he's not able to hit the Scrapper. Yeah, it's likely. Colors is so good in the middle of the game, especially when in a deck like Plasma, where you always want to have Deoxys on your bench. The list plays 3 because the Colors is just, it's such a good draw. So yeah, it's colorless for 9. As good as 16 when you get Skyfield, but back in the day, he definitely didn't have that option. So yeah, he's able to hit the scrapper there. Definitely nice. Puts him at the perfect number to be able to knock out that Landorus, and he's able to get the overflow prizes off of it. I do have a Raichu waiting as an answer, but yeah, it's definitely good to keep up here. If he wasn't able to get this cow, I think that would have been pretty close to game there. So yeah, puts a muscle band on the Palkia as well, which is really nice because all of a sudden that Palkia, if he gets another energy on there, it's doing 110, which is a lot of damage. Especially when you get a retreat and not have to worry about getting the Palkia KO'd where your energy is. Yeah, it takes the 3 prizes there. If you don't know what to promote, always promote a Raichu if you have it. I mean, Garbo with a float sounds fine too, but Raichu has free retreat, which makes it such a good pivot. You can just chuck it up, and depending on what you need, you can just pivot into whatever attacker you choose to put up. Free retreat on that Raichu. I love the art on that Raichu too. It's so cool. Mitsuhiro Arda's like, he's the guy who drew the OG Charizard. He's just like so good. All of his cards are so sick. I go for fighting on the Mewtwo. I do really like that because it opens up for a lot of plays. It means that the Palkia play where you go Palkia strafe into a Deoxys, it means that I just need to hit one more energy and then a laser or a muscle band or a double colorless energy, and then I can just straight one-shot a Deoxys for the game here. Because I'm going to kill this Lugia, so I'm down to 1 prize left, and if he chucks that Deoxys in the active, it means I win the game, essentially, if I hit the resources that I need. So really good here. I'm able to hit the tool on the Garb as well. So all of a sudden that Palkia, instead of doing 110, is going to be able to do like 70, which is significantly better. Because it means he's not killing the Raichu at that point. Yeah, going down to 1 prize though, like this is what I was saying, is like I'm really vulnerable to an N here. Because I do need to hit those extra resources for the Mewtwo. So if I do get End, it is not looking great for our hero. I don't really have anything other than the Mewtwo that I can attack with. And, like, I don't know. Maybe putting the fighting in the Landorus was a good call, but there's also that Landorus hammerheading isn't going to do anything. I'm just going to get strafed twice or 3 times and then get wrecked. So I think it was definitely the right call to put on the Mewtwo, because at least that way, if I get End, I have an out to, like, win the game if he tries to chuck up a Deoxys. And he did put that plasma energy on the Deoxys. I think he ride knuckled that earlier, so that's definitely a really safe play by Trevor there. It just means that, you know, he's saying I put a plasma energy on this Deoxys, so as soon as you decide to attack with Mewtwo, I'm actually just going to wreck your Mewtwo with a Helix Force. So keep it out of the active. So it's interesting how you can force your opponent into like not making plays by attaching a single energy. Like you're at that point, he's really controlling my play. And you know, I think that's kind of what Pokemon boils down to in a level. I mean, on one level it's draws and matchups, of course, but on another level it's knowing how you can control your opponent's play based on your board, because you want to make your opponent do what you want them to do. Like you don't want to have them do their deck strategy and do whatever they want. You want to say, okay, well, I know that you're not going to attack with this Mewtwo because I have a plasma energy on this Deoxys, and unless you're feeling really ballsy, you're not going to attack with that Mewtwo. So definitely Trevor's just a really good manipulating his opponent. Is able to hit the energy on the Palkia, and he hits the Lugia too, which is really nice. Oh, gets the Scrapper, so he's also going to get the KO. That's a really important Scrapper as well. So just thinning there, dropping the muscle band. But yeah, the Lugia is really nice because it means he's going to chuck up the Lugia, and I now have to hit a Raichu and a DCE to knock out. Oh, and I'm going to get End. This is so bad. So yeah, chucking up the Lugia is really good because if I attack it with the Mewtwo, doesn't really matter because I'm hitting it for 60. And I also, if he hits a switch and a Prism, I just lose. It forces me to hit the Raichu and a DCE. And there's already 2 DCEs on board, so like the odds that I hit that aren't that good. Yeah, this is kind of what I was saying earlier. So I had to kill that Absol turn 1, and now I'm getting End to 1. And when, you know, I get to draw that card, and it might have been a good card, but I get 1 less card now off this, and I'm shuffle drawing and getting a top deck and 1 card instead of 3 cards. 3 cards is significantly better than 2 in this situation. especially when I need like a 2-card combo to potentially take the game. And is a really, so he does go for the strafe here. Strafe from the Lugia. Yeah, super good play. Trevor's got a big brain, and that's what he's doing. So I do hit the Raichu in an N. Okay, cool. Cool. If I'm able to hit like DCE laser, I could potentially just win off him not being able to switch out. And DC and laser. I'm gonna hit it for at least like 60 this turn, so that means that if I'm able to hit a DC next turn, I can knock it out. But there is no way for me to kill it this turn. I needed to have better cards than a Raichu. Still decent cards though, I mean. Not bad. Okay, so I do decide to go for the Hammerhead here. Again, like the Mewtwo play is okay, but you open yourself up to just losing the game, and whenever you do that, you're just a bad player. So I retreat the Mewtwo, go into the Landorus, and then start to snipe out the Palkia for another 30. Rips a Colors off the top of his deck. Oh, what a sack. Literally luck sacked his way into a Colors for 8. That's so good. And I was kind of hoping that he was just going to brick off that end of 1, and then I could hopefully hit the Palkia enough times to KO it. I mean, I have a max potion in my deck as well, so with Landorus, you can kind of make it a tank in some ways. You take a hit, max potion, Hammerhead, take a hit, you're able to Hammerhead another time before you get knocked out. So, especially with like Hypnotoxic Lasers, it's really easy to like stall out a Landorus and just chill with 1 active for a fair amount of time. Trevor's just dropping muscle bands because he wants to thin here. He knows that an N might be coming from my side, so it's good to play those cards because you don't want to draw them off your N. Misses the switch though, so that's kind of a big deal. It means that this Landorus is going to be able to attack for 1 more turn before. Yeah, just more thinning here. I mean, having that Juniper is good, but having the Thunderous and the Ultra Ball in your deck is not. You don't want to draw those cards off of it. So Trevor's doing a really good job of thinning his deck and making sure that when he gets end, it's not going to be into garbage. So he just goes for a pass, and I rip a Skyla off the top of my deck. I'll take it. It's not as good as Juniper, but I mean, it's something. I'm trying to think what the best play to get here is. There's a lot of options. Yeah, get Colors is probably one of the best ones. You only play 1 Colors in this list, but it's for situations like this where everyone's got a big bench and you need to hit a Wombo combo for the game. I have a supporter for next turn. Definitely chilling. I'm able to hit that Palkia for another 30, which means... Oh, hit the Deoxys. So, hitting the Deoxys was almost strictly wrong. I think that was a misplay. And I think that, like, my train of thought was, if I hit this Deoxys for 30, and he decides to chuck it up after a Lugia, because the Lugia, having the Lugia up is kind of suspect now. I mean, the Mewtwo has 2 less energy on it, so it's not that big of a threat, and he might chuck the Deoxys with the energy on it. So my train of thought was, if I hit it for 30, it means that if I do hit the DCE, I can just kill it if he decides to put it up. So yeah, it goes for a rope. I think I'm just... Yeah, so I put the Mewtwo up, but it doesn't really matter. Because, yeah, he's got the Scramble Switch anyway. So no matter what, he goes Helix Force or he goes Plasma Gale for the game. So yeah, definitely well played by Trevor. He knows the deck very well, and he knows how to put Deoxys on his bench and attack for a lot of damage. He did play really well. He definitely knows what he's doing with that deck. And it was close, though. If I was able to maybe have 1 more turn and get something off that Colress, maybe like an Escape Rope or like maybe a tool for the Garb would have been really nice. Like that, there's just a lot of things. I really would have needed a tool for the Garb. Okay, so we're getting into game 2 here. So I had 1 mulligan, so Trevor gets to mulligan. And you always want to go first if you're playing Big Basis Garb, just because you have evolution Pokemon and you want to get those into play as soon as you can. So starting Landorus to a Thunderous is definitely nice. Trevor does have a Lugia on his board too, though, so usually the first target that you want to hit with a Hammerhead is Lugia, so it's nice that he's already dropped that for me. Go for a Skyla here. And usually, especially, like, Plasma can pop off a Lugia at any point. They can just go double Colorless Machine, double Colorless Energy. So having an answer to that is really important. And so I go for a Skyla for a level ball for a Pikachu here, because I want to have an answer to the Lugia if it does happen to drop 4 Deoxys and Muscle Band in the crazy combo. Like, it doesn't happen, but it's always good to be prepared because you never know what Plasma is going to draw. They definitely have that ability to just draw really hot and pop off. So I go DCE on the Pikachu, definitely a decent turn 1. Having that Landorus is really nice as well, because it means if Trevor decides to start riding knuckling, I can just smack the Thundurus for a 2-shot knockout. See how Trevor draws. For a Plasma Ball. Probably going to get a Deoxys here to be able to buff some damage. Usually your first Plasma Ball target, if you already have a Lugia and a Thundurus, is a Deoxys. Usually, like, your board is like a Thundurus, a Lugia, 3 Deoxys, and one other thing that kind of is board dependent. Sometimes that's a 4th Deoxys. Sometimes it's a Palkia, depending on the matchup. Sometimes it's a non-EX attacker, depending on what your opponent's board is like. But yeah, you usually want at least 3 Deoxys at all times. I have that Absol too, definitely nice. Absol's an interesting card, how it interacts with Raichu, because, like, Raichu does more damage based on your bench Pokemon, and Mindjack also does that. So there's an interesting, like, keep your bench restricted, don't keep it restricted, like, hidden war that goes on between Absol and Raichu. Because, like, as soon as your opponent drops an Absol, you should be thinking about Mindjack, and you should be benching your Pokemon, like, consciously based on like the fact that you could get Mindjack next turn. So yeah, it goes for a Colorless Machine on the Absol. I remember what happens here, and it feels bad. He goes for a Colorless Machine, and then he gets the attach on there as well, and he also has an Escape Rope, which means that able to go Muscle Band plus, so 20, 40 plus 10, and then the 20 more with the Landorus means he's hitting for 70, which is a fresh KO. Yeah, so definitely really good to snipe that Pikachu out. He doesn't guaranteed have the energy, but I know he draws off the Sycamore because I get bodied by it. So yeah, he's definitely in a solid position here. And again, like the same thing that happened last game where I don't want to be hitting that Absol. I would rather hit the Thundurus for whoa, and then he drops 2 Deoxys out of nowhere as well. So definitely a fat turn 1 for Trevor. Trevor definitely super nice turn 1. Decides to go against the Mindjack play because he can get the Ride and Knuckle and then accelerate the Plasma onto the Lugia as well. This is definitely the better play. And you know, it's interesting because he has the option to kill with the Thundurus this turn because he had 3 Deoxys. The last game where he did that, the KO with the Absol, he didn't have the other 2 Deoxys. So usually better to be putting the energy on the Lugia if you can be. Kind of sucks that he's having to put a Thundurus up against a Landorus, but when you're killing your opponent's only Pikachu on a board, doesn't really matter because at this point he can just go Laser, Muscle Band, DCE, Colorless Machine, knockout. He needs even less than that now because I dropped a Verbank. So I do put the Verbank down because of the really nice play that Rainbow Energy allows. So if I hit the Fighting Energy and a Laser off of this, I'm able to go Hammerhead for 100, 30 with the Poison, puts him up to 140, and then if he doesn't switch out or gets a Heads Tails on the flip for Sleep, it means that he dies back into my turn, which is really nice because you're not getting attacked and you get to attack something fresh next turn. So it is kind of a combo to hit off an end, but you know, Energy Laser, you play 6 Energy, 4 Laser, and I kind of need to hit something at this point because I don't have a Pikachu. Definitely miss the energy, miss the laser. It feels bad, man. Definitely in a rough spot. At least I hit the Garbodor for next turn, but that is not where you want to be as a big basics player. Is attaching a DCE to your Landorus. That is pretty gross. And DC on a Landorus, it's like fine. It has uses because when you have 2 other fighting energy, you get to Land's Judgment and then not discard the DCE because it's not a fighting. You're only 2 attaches away from Land's Judgment again, but yeah, definitely not the play that you want to be in. You want to have your DCEs on your Raichus and Mewtwo's too. Yeah, Trevor's chilling here for sure. He's got a lot of options. He's probably just gonna chill and accelerate his board. Depending on what he does this turn, he's got a fair amount of options here. He could switch into the Absol and attack with that if he has that option again this turn. Chipping, it seems kind of bad, but chipping the Landorus for a little bit of damage so that you can Plasma Gale KO it is really strong, especially because he killed a Pikachu turn 1. So it just means that if he kills this Landorus for 3, he's got to kill one more EX Pokemon, and then that's the game. Or he needs to overflow a non-EX. So kind of depends what he's able to hit here, but at least he's getting an energy in the discard. Really nice to get that rainbow in the discard for sure. He gets a double colorless on the Lugia as well, so swinging for fresh 40, and yeah, not a great position to be in if you're me, because Landorus with damage on it, even though I hit that Garbler up, he's not able to get the overflow. Landorus with damage is very likely to die to a Lugia, especially one that's charged up like this. Like he needs what, a Muscle Band and then I die, or a Tool Scrapper. Like that's free to hit. Is if you're Colorsing for 7 or Junipering for 7, like it's very possible that he hits that. But I do find another Landorus here, and I do rip that Max Potion off the last card of the Juniper. Definitely a really good card to draw, because that damage would have been bad news bears. So yeah, nice. At least I'm able to two-shot this Thundurus, and put a little bit of damage on the Lugia. I Ultra Ball for a Pikachu here as well, and the reason I'm like not sure what I want to kill is, or what I want to discard with the Ultra Ball, is because my hand is Juniper, Muscle Band, Ultra Ball, Landorus, Fighting Energy. So having the Fighting Energy is really nice. Having the Muscle Band is really nice for the Pikachu. But keeping the Landorus is better in my opinion, because you get to bench the Landorus, keep it as an attacker if you need to rotate through attackers. And it does the same thing as a Muscle Band on a Raichu. Like Muscle Band buffs your damage by 10, but Landorus also, or buffs your damage by 20 rather, but the Landorus also does that and gives you another option for an attacker. So kind of a interesting decision. I knew that I wanted to discard the energy, but the Muscle Band of the Landorus is kind of managing your bench space is really important. So it's really good to just like make sure you're making the right play on stuff like that. So I'm able to hit the Thundurus for 100, and then I hit the Lugia for 30. So I need, if this Landorus gets knocked out, I'm going to need 2 more bench Pokemon, and then I kill it with a Raichu. So having the 30 on there for sure. And that Verbing sitting there is kind of scary, because Trevor plays 2 lasers, so definitely a lot he can do with a board like this. I think I know whether he wants to retreat here. That getting that damage removed, he clearly had a play in mind that he was going to do, and like Max Potion is a classic combo from Big Basic Garb. Max Potion's so good at Landorus. It's just like so, because you hit for so much damage for 1 energy. And they're like, okay, I'm going to 2-shot you. And you're like, I have the Skyla in my hand. You're not going to do that. Oh yeah, so he brings up the Lugia and then just attacks for 120, which is really not great, because you have to discard the Plasma every time you Plasma Gale. So it's like, it's a lot to commit to not kill this Landorus. And I mean, my Max Potion's already gone, so I don't have the option of Max Potioning it, but well, not great if you're Trevor. Not really what you want to be doing if you're Plasma. So I do top a Fighting, and I just drop it with that Landorus. And at this point, I think I'm just gonna force, if I can, force a 7 prize game with 3 EXs. So I'm gonna drop a Raichu to kill if I need to, but I'm not gonna put the Raichu in the active unless I like absolutely have to kill a Lugia or something. Just because at that point, I may as well force him to kill 3 Landoruses, and play a 7 prize game. Like, you want to force your opponent to have the hardest out to win. Ooh, heads flip on that laser, definitely clutch. I'm going to be hitting it for some damage, so it's going to go up to 90, and then I'll be able to put 30 on that Thundurus, which means it's going to die the next turn from a Hammerhead. But unless he stays asleep on this flip, it's not really going to be important. If he does stay asleep, that's pretty good for me, but it's that. Whatever. Trevor's turn. There was some Plasma lists in the day that actually played Max Potion. Like, I know, was a player from Portland. Why am I slipping on his name right now? Frig. Oh well. He played. He saw Trevor and Chase's list, and he actually beat them out the next weekend after he saw them. But he changed the 2 lasers to a max potion, and he changed the rainbows as well. He changed the rainbows to like basic lightnings, which is like meta good. It's depending on the meta, because like there's a lot of special energy hate after week 1 because plasma was so good. So having basic lightnings just means your Thunderuses are. So he played 3 of those and then a max potion. So a max potion here would be brutal for my side. Like if he healed off 140, that is absolutely awful when you're trying to set up that cheeky knockout with a hammerhead and then your opponent just max potions. Yeah, he's in a decent spot here. I do need to find a muscle band if I'm gonna kill this Lugia. Hopefully I hit it. I mean, if I don't, that's still fine because it means I'm able to snipe it for 30 to knock it out. But you really want to kill things in the. Do happen to miss the muscle band? I would have slapped that down if I had it. Nathan Beck, that's his name. Nathan Beck. Yeah. So Nathan Beck played Plasma. He actually beat it was either Chase or Trevor in finals with Plasma playing the max potion. Nathan Beck. In the time that this video is stored. Yeah, Nathan's a homie. I love Nathan. Nathan's a Portland. Honestly, all the Portland Pokemon players are like, they're homies. They're G's. They're really cool. Yeah, missed the muscle band, so that kind of sucks. I do get the KO on the Thunderous on the bench, but yeah, really not what you want to see, especially when like all that energy on the board. When your opponent's playing Plasma, if you let them keep energy, it means that it could turn into a Scramble Switch into something crazy. Like Scramble Switch Team Pact is like really, really good, and he has that out now because he has DCE Rainbow on the board. So he goes for a Skyla. Go Skyla for a couple things here. Thunderous, DCE, Prism, that kind of sucks. Probably gonna get a supporter, but also he like doesn't really have anything. He definitely is gonna be a supporter here. Probably Colorus. But yeah, that's pretty bad too, because it just means that you're doing nothing with this Lugia. Even if you retreat it, it's still getting snipe KO'd, so yeah. Gets Colorus as the Skyla. Definitely the right call, but not the board you want to see if you're Trevor. It's really nice if you're me though, because I got 2 energy on that Landorus, and as soon as I Hammerhead to KO, it pretty much gives him 1 turn, because I kill that with a Hammerhead, and then I'm gonna say, listen, I'm gonna laser or muscle band, and then just lands Judgment for the knockout on anything in your board. Goes for the retreat into the Deoxys. Yeah, definitely solid. I mean, he has an option here to just chill with the Absol active. I'm at 4 prizes, so again, this is one of those nice situations where even though I'm killing 2 things, I'm taking a 3 prize turn. Seems good, but it also opens me up to an N if Trevor tops an N. That's honestly not something that'll do. He probably needs to Colors to hit a bunch of damage, but being forced into that is not good, which is where Escape Rope comes in really clutch. If you don't want to kill what your opponent has in the active, rope them. And sometimes rope, like there's no catcher effect in this format other than Genesec's Red Signal and catcher, like Pokemon Catcher on a flip. So being able to Escape Rope, like if your opponent has, say like, let's say they have like a Squirtle on their bench and like a Keldeo in the active, and they're playing Blastoise, and you really want to kill their Squirtle, it's possible now, because if you hit Landorus, Muscle Band, Laser, Escape Rope, you're killing the Squirtle. So it is niche, and it can like bring up Pokemon that you really need to bring up in a lot of situations. And so I go for the Laser into Pass here. So Trevor and I are both playing the kill my 1 prize Pokemon because I told you to game. And like I have a Raichu in my hand, so I'm able to retreat this Pikachu if he's not able to kill it, but I'm pretty much just saying listen, you can kill this with an EX Pokemon if you want, and then I just win the game because of Lens Judgment. Or you can try to kill it with a non-EX Pokemon and dedicate resources there that you really don't want to dedicate. So yeah, he goes for the Colress, just really hoping to hit a Colress machine and not draw the Plasma. The interesting thing about Colress being so good is sometimes in a situation like this, it can be bad because you want to draw the Colress machine, but you can't draw the Plasma Energy because you need to be able to accelerate it this turn. So drawing so many cards is good for hitting the one card that you want, but it's bad for keeping the other card that you want in your deck. Kind of interesting situation. He's able to hit a Scrapper at least, so he's able to get abilities back if he needs them. Although this board is pretty threatening for Trevor. Like, there's not a lot you can do. You're gonna have to kill the Pikachu and then something else. And I know he doesn't play a Kyurem in his list. Some Plasma lists played a Kyurem as well. And the rotational slots for one price attackers were either like Absol, Snorlax, or Kyurem. I think Kyurem's really good, but it's kind of meta dependent as well. If you're not playing against like big basics, it's kind of unnecessary. Snorlax and Absol are better ones against a wide field. So yeah, drops the Lugia. He's probably checking my DCEs here because he's wondering if he can just chuck that Lugia, because he doesn't really want to put anything else. I mean, Lugia being resistant to fighting means that I need to hit even more to Land's Judgment it for a knockout. So it's kind of what he's thinking about. Goes for a pass with the Absol active. I mean, that's nice too, because it forces me to at least spend one more turn knocking out that Absol before I can just take the game. And it opens him up for an end turn as well. Like, if I kill the Absol, then again, I made it 1. Not great if you're me. You can go like end to 1, and then even if I have a Muscle Band on the Landorus CX, it means that I need to hit a laser as well to kill the Lugia. Chucks the Lugia up. Yeah, I'm chilling super fat here. I'm able to kill this with a Raichu for exactly 100, and what that means is Trevor can't just hit a crazy wombo combo Plasma Gale to KO, and I do end him to 3 as well. So I mean, it's possible if he was able to hit, Colress Machine, Scramble Switch, Attach. He has a DCE on that Deoxys, so you never can count Plasma out because they always usually have an out to do at least something. So I Heavy Ball for a Landorus. I'm just thinning here. I don't want to top deck the Landorus next turn, and I don't want the Heavy Ball in my deck, and just in case I get N. So it's always good to thin and play the cards that you don't need, especially in a format with N. N is it is the probably #1 card in terms of like punishing players who don't thin. Like, if you didn't thin in an N format, really bad. You probably sucked if you didn't thin in an N format. So yeah, promotes the Deoxys. And end of 4 or end of 3 and then 1 top deck isn't that much. Not a crazy amount of resources. See, he did hit that Scramble Switch here, so there's at least some stuff he can do. And even if he hits the Colress Machine, this is like kind of what I was saying before, is like, you're drawing a lot of cards, but you really need to draw the Colress Machine, and you really need to not draw the Plasma Energy. He has 1 or 2 left. I'm not exactly sure. Yeah, I think it's 1, but it could be 2. Yeah, you just drawing so many cards is like, it's kind of bad for that. You kind of like don't want to draw you really need to not draw the Plasma Energy. And the Lugia is really good too, because it means that I'm gonna have to hit Muscle Band and a laser to knock out, which is possible, and I can do it. But if you're playing well, you should be forcing your opponent into a position that makes it so that they have to draw the most cards possible to win. Like, so for example, in this position, I have a Landorus that can do 170. I automatically kill the Thundurus, and I need a Muscle Band or a laser to kill a Deoxys. But with a Lugia active, I need a muscle Band and a laser. So he knows that I only have 1 DCE left. Yeah, I have the computer search for the laser and the Muscle Band in my hands. And Trevor made the right call. He forced me to hit both of those cards, but sometimes your opponent just hits those cards anyway. Game 2, we're gonna go into game 3 now. Okay, so back set up here. Trevor's gonna go first because he lost the last game, so I start with a Trubbish and 2 Landorus. definitely a decent start. If you can ever start with a Trubbish or a Pikachu, you're usually in a decent spot as big basics, because you really need those stage 1 support Pokemon, depending on the matchup, especially against Dark and Plasma. So nice when you can just raw draw them turn 1. You know, don't have to worry about searching them or finding them turn 2. So Trevor starts up 2 Deoxys. Not the most optimal start, but also not a big deal. You play 5 switch outs. This Plasma, you play a Scramble Switch, an Escape Rope, and 3 regular switches. It's got a lot of options. And honestly, having that Deoxys in the active to take a Hammerhead before you put a Thundurus up to take a Hammerhead is really nice, because it means that Thundurus gets to attack twice before it dies instead of just once. Go for a Skyla. Wouldn't be surprised if it's a Skyla for a Plasma Ball. That's a very classic Plasma play. Yeah, Skyla for a Plasma Ball. There it is. So yeah, he's probably gonna get a Lugia here, depending on what his hand is. But usually you want to get your attachments onto Lugia turn 1 if you can drop attachments, because it's usually the attacker that you want to be attacking with first. You can take out anything with a Lugia, so the faster you get attachments on it, the faster you can be taking prizes. I actually love playing this matchup. It's so, because like you hit so much stuff for weakness, but sometimes Plasma just goes overflow for 3 prizes twice, and you're like, oh, okay, cool. Funny, I actually never got to play the 3rd game. I'm playing the 3rd game now against Trevor, but I never got to play the 3rd game against Chase Maloney. We played at BC Provincials, and I wasn't playing this exact list, but it was this matchup, and we got to a game 3, and like I had only been playing Pokemon for like a year, so to go up against someone who's like Chase, for those of you that don't know, Chase Maloney won Worlds in 2012. Like, and he's a god. He's so good at the game. It's like very intimidating, because you're like, oh, this player's literally won the World Championships, and I'm a scrub who just started playing like a year ago. But I guess I'm taking him to game 3. Yeah, we never finished that game 3, but it was definitely a fun game. One thing that Chase did more of, though, is he attacked with Palkia a lot, and I actually think that's like correct, because if you're attacking with Palkia a lot, it means that your opponent, they have to play really specifically against a Palkia. Like, you have to snipe the Deoxys on the bench for 30, so that when he throws one up, you have the option to one-shot it with a Pikachu or a Mewtwo. So yeah, really, really interesting how different players play different decks. Not that, you know, one is wrong or right. One can be better depending on like what route your opponent takes. But it's just interesting how like different players play the same deck differently, just like based on how they play. It goes for a Scramble Switch here and a Juniper, so pretty good. I mean, he's got a Muscle Band and 2 Deoxys, so he can just mollywop me for a bunch of damage if that's what he decides to draw this turn. It's very possible, for especially when you're Junipering for 7. Like, Juniper and Colors let you draw so many cards that it like opens up for Lugia to be, here's one of them, a powerhouse when it comes to like popping off, because you play so many cards that are just like, oh, I'm just gonna buff my damage by like 60 this turn, like Muscle Band 4 Deoxys, I'm just gonna plus 60 on my damage, which is like so much damage. So misses the KO this turn. Still pretty fine though. You know, unless I'm able to hit Floatstone, Raichu, DCE, and a basic Pokemon. I hit a Heavy Ball for the Garbodor this turn, which is really nice. Forcing him to hit a Plasma, or a Tool Scrapper rather, next turn. Yeah, and then I go for the N. Really hoping to hit like another Energy here, or really a Raichu and a basic Pokemon would be very nice. A Tool would be really cool too. What I really need is a Tool, but like Raichu's becoming really important because I don't really have any ways to handle this Lugia right now. Hitting it for 10 with Hammerhead is only gonna last so long. Especially when they're like, their option is like, oh, Tool Scrapper return knockout for 3 prizes. Like, when you're hitting them for 10, that's just, you can't be doing that. Go 6. Trevor's gonna draw fresh 6. Yeah, I'm able to hit that other bench Pokemon, and having a second Pikachu is really nice too, because you never know. Like, sometimes, especially in this format, like, I know Trevor doesn't play catcher, but like, when there's no other catcher in format, sometimes people just play 2 catcher. Like, Dark plays 2 catcher, so you never know when your opponent's gonna drop a catcher, especially when you're playing like a real tournament. Like that won't happen nowadays, but when you're playing a real tournament back in the day, like nobody knew what. So like some plasma lists played Genesect, so they can go red signal, whatever they wanted on the board. And I am spreading out my damage here just because I'm prepping for that Palkia play. You never know. I'm just kind of assuming that Trevor's going to be playing the Palkia down eventually. Like, you want to always assume that your opponent is going to be playing correctly. You don't want to assume that your opponent's going to misplay, because then you open yourself up to misplaying yourself, actually. So I dropped 3 damage on the other Deoxys for that play that I was talking about, where I can, if he does decide to go for that Palkia, like scramble switch into Palkia, and then he starts chucking Deoxys up, at least I have an option to be able to knock out the Deoxys that he's thrown up. So it goes for a Plasma Ball. Very likely going to be a 4th Deoxys here, because it means if he goes 4th Deoxys Energy, I missed the tool, so if he hits 4th Deoxys Energy, he's taking 3 prizes here, which is yeah, hitting the tool would have been really nice. Although, you know, next turn I have a decent amount of outs to be able to return, knock out this Lugia. I have a Pikachu with an energy on it, so I have 8 outs in deck, 4 double colorless energy, and 4 basic fighting. Assuming I don't have any prized. And then I have like 7 outs to Raichu, a level ball, 4 ultra balls, 2 Raichu. Very possible that I'm able to get the return knockout. This is going to be a vital turn, though, where, you know, if he hits the energy here, which is very likely, Plasma plays like 14 energy, I'm going to have to respond to this. If I'm not able to respond, that's when your game just starts to go really downhill, because Lugia's so oppressive. Very, very strong card. And he just hits the Colors Machine, so he gets to attach somewhere else, which is better. Not in the best position here. Really would have liked to hit a tool on that Garb. I mean, forcing a tool scrapper hit. Trevor possibly could have had a Skyla or just a raw tool scrapper in his hand, but you want to force your opponent to play as many resources as they can, because now he hasn't played that tool scrapper. So let's say I hit it next turn and I get the KO on the Lugia. It means that his options of going, you know, Thunderous, Muscle Band, Laser, Tool Scrapper, he has 1 more Tool Scrapper in his deck, so the odds that he hits that combo are like much higher than if he were to have to use the resources on getting the tool off the Garb. I put the Pikachu up because I'm prepared to nuzzle. You never know when you got a nuzzle. Maybe I'll have to paralyze sleep this Lugia. And you know, I'm drawing 8 off this Colors, so I should be fine hitting what I want to hit. Colors is the go-to card when you want to hit a combo. Like if you Stellar Guidance, you have at least 8 bench Pokemon, Colors is always super good card. Colors has seen play printed. It was really good in the format before this. It was really good in this format. It was good till it rotated. Zora got printed and expanded, and then it got wild. Started drawing like 22 cards off of Colors. 24. Yeah, 24. So good. Draw 8. Definitely not the 8 that I wanted. I hit the energy, but I don't think I hit a Pokemon search, so I'm not able to get the knockout on this. It's really unfortunate. It's usually a vital turn when your opponent Plasma Gales, and the next turn what you do, really important. Like if you can heads tails sleep the Lugia, at least that's something, but like there was nothing really that I was able to do here, so I'm just gonna have to hit it for another bunch of damage. There's not a ton I can do here. And like I hit the Lugia for 70, so it means that if he does kill me, I'm able to just kill him with a Raichu. Goes for a Skyla for a switch. Goes for the switch. Attaches, and then if he's got the Tool Scrapper, that is the game. There it is. Ka-chow, baby. Yeah, Lugia is like so good. Look at those prizes. Palkia Palkia Lugia in the prizes. That's rough in this matchup. It's really not what you want to see. Yeah, Palkia Lugia. Oh my god! If I was able to just take on that one Lugia, I would have been fine. That was we were in his last 3 prizes. Oh, I would have been so fine. Why did I have to whiff off the colors? Well, count them all. But yeah, so this has been 2014 States Trevor Read and Chase Maloney's Plasma list versus my big basic Garb Raichu list. Hope you enjoyed the video. If you have any questions about the match, leave them below and I'll do my best to get to them. But yeah, thanks for tuning in.